Well, hello, people from BDE Travels. It's been a while. I haven't actually uploaded. Oops, just turn this off. I haven't uploaded a lot of videos on YouTube. I think the last video that I uploaded was one that we were going back over with the things that were going on the Camino de Santiago. So hopefully today we'll see some folks that we haven't seen in a while. And I feel strange because it certainly has been a while since we've talked to our subscribers at BDE Travels, and I just wanted to, let you know that we're not uploading that much of context within the program with BDE Travels, and the reason being for is that I have another channel, which is a channel in Spanish, and that one has been taken off, and that's the reason why I spent a little bit more time on the Spanish channel rather than the BDE Travels channel. Nevertheless, I've always go and I come back every now and then to this channel just to visit and see how you guys are doing. And today I'm live. Believe it or not, I am live on BDE Travels. It's been a while since I've been live on BDE Travels. The last program that we did with our friend. We did an interview right with I'll Get There, and our friend from the program, the channel I'll Get There. And you can go to her channel. It's called I'll Get There. And she finished the Camino de Santiago. So we did the interview and we talked about the things that she went through. And we actually spent some time with you. Corina is here with us, even though Corina is from the other channel. She's from the Spanish speaking channel, but she joins us here on this channel. Also, I guess she's not going to sleep because right now she's in Houston, Texas, and right now in Houston it's approximately 9 p.m. But nevertheless, I was going by a few memories. So I was going by some of the videos from BDE Travels, and my wife was sitting right next to me where we're going back and remembering things about the Camino de Santiago and things that we've been through. And just to let you know that, even though we haven't uploaded a lot of videos on BDE Travels, nevertheless, we are still active with BDE Travels. I'm trying to see if I can set StreamYard connected with BDE Travels, because I have StreamYard, but for the other channel. But if there's a way that I can get StreamYard, I can get to show you the pictures that we did on the last trip. And the last trip was my mom's bucket list. And on my mom's bucket list, we went to Saint Jean Pied de Port. And also, let me see if I can get a couple of pictures on this side so I can, as I talk to you, I can visit some of the memories that we went through. And there she spent a little bit of time in the village of Saint Jean Pied de Port, and we had a blast. In fact, it was so fun because there is only one room in Saint Jean Pied de Port, and it's as you go down the street, leaving the pilgrim's office to the right. If you go outside of the town itself, underneath the stairs, there's a public bathroom. Now, what's peculiar about this bathroom there in Saint Jean Pied de Port is that it's a unisex bathroom, but the urinals are outside. Some men, they do what they have to. They take care of business on the outside. It's almost being in public. So they have a urinal exposed. So as the females go in and out of the bathroom, if they look to their right outside of the doors, these gentlemen are taking care of business. So my mom was standing in there. She was getting a crack of it. I was laughing. That night was so fun, so much fun. So we were staying in Pamplona at that time. And in the afternoon, we drove back to Pamplona. So we went just for the day to spend some time in San Jean Pied de Port. And then we went to the hotel. We were staying at Palacio Gorraiz, which is a very expensive hotel in Pamplona. And we have friends now because we lived there. As you can see in BD Travels, we lived there for a while. And I took her there. And then we drove around Spain for a while. We went to Toledo. And in Toledo, they have it's a wonderful city. If you get to travel to Toledo, it's a wonderful city there. Uh, they have a lot of history. They have paintings from El Greco, or the Greek, which was a Greek person that went to Spain, very famous in his paintings in there. So we visited a couple of monasteries in there. My mom got to walk all around the town, and it was something interesting because in Spain, if you see the mailboxes, they're not really mailboxes. They're the heads of a lions, and they have their mouth open,
and when you put your letters in there, you put them inside the mouth, and then you can do the mailing and stuff. So we went to the Museum of El Greco. We saw a couple of things in there. We went to some of the cathedrals. I spent some time with the girls looking outside the Alhambra of Toledo. Uh, a few years back, we did a program in Toledo, and we had our girls going through the zip line. So if you go to Toledo, they have a zip line. It's called Sky Toledo, and what you do is you fly from one side of the fortress to the other side of the fortress, and you go over the Rio Tajo. And also, you can do a tour in the afternoon if you go to Plaza Solocover, which is the town main plaza. There, every hour they have a train that you can take. I think it costs €6 by the last time we were there, and they take you on the train up to the top of the hill, and you can see the town from up of the hill. Beautiful views. They also have these auriculars that you can put in your ear, and you can listen to the history of Toledo. So once again, it's a very, very fun city to visit. The food is wonderful, and it's very safe to walk around. I mean, I was walking with my mom during the wee hours of the night. We visited the cathedral, which is one of the most beautiful cathedrals that you can get to see. And the good thing about Toledo is that you can grab a train from Madrid. I think it's cost like 14 to €20 or so. And you can go to Toledo, you can spend a day there, or you can do what I did, which is I rented a car. Usually when I go to Spain now, I rent a car and I travel around Spain with a car rental. So we stayed in Toledo, and you park your car in one of the main parking areas, which is right downtown. Then you go up the stairs, or you take the elevator, and it leaves you right in next to Plaza Sodocover. And then we got to stay at an Airbnb. We walked the town all around. So we had a great time in Toledo. Now, there's a place I did not get a chance to stay there this year. Maybe next year. I mean, last year. Maybe next year I'll get to do, which is called they have this amusement park in Toledo, but it's around 40 minutes away from the town. But it's a wonderful experience. I can't remember that. I'm trying to figure out the name. They have one park like that all the way up in France, and they have now another one in Toledo. But you have to reserve with many weeks, in advance, because it gets filled up. I think it's called All Toledo or something like that. It's a wonderful experience. I didn't get a chance to experience it this year. Maybe probably next year when I do go there, I might have a chance to do that, but that's one thing I do recommend. Then what we did was, and once again, I'm going to be talking about my mom's bucket list trip, which is in a sense related to what we do at BDE Travels. I didn't do a lot of recording with this trip because I wanted to be something special for my mom, and I just didn't want to put everything online. But from Toledo, we went back to Madrid, and then from Madrid, we catch a flight. We went to Venice, which was one of the towns that she loved, and it was her definitely on her bucket list. The first day we got to Venice, she got to experience not only the people, the culture, the wonderful architecture that you see in Venice. Uh, we hopped on the traghetto, which is the water bus, and there's like a tour that you could do if you grab traghetto number 2. It leaves the train station Santa Lucia, and you go all the way down to St. Mark's Square. So as you go down the main canal, you get to see the architecture. You go by the Guggenheim Museum. You get to experience some of the Muslim fortifications, some of the palaces in the Grand Canal, and you get to see the gondolas, the Rialto Bridge, the bank, the museums, and all this while you are sitting. And I recommend, if you go to Venice one day, I recommend that what you do is, once you get into the traghetto, find a way so you can sit in the front of the traghetto, because that way you can get to see all the beautiful architecture and everything that you need to do. So Venice is one of my favorite places in the world to see. So my mom and I, we took her, we went in the traghetto, we rented a car, and we left it in the parking spot outside. So we didn't do the trajecto right away because usually people come from Milan, they take the train and they get to Santa Lucia station, and then from Santa Lucia station they walk all around Venice. And Venice is a city that I always recommend. If you're in Venice, walk. Even if you get tired, I mean, you're not gonna get lost. It's a city. So you go in the back alleys, and sometimes you walk to roads that lead nowhere. But that's part of the fun of being in Venice. So we stayed on the southwest side of Venice. We didn't stay in San Marco because it's more expensive. So if you look at the outskirts of San Marco, it's cheaper. And we stayed at a place, the food was phenomenal. We rented an Airbnb and we walked downstairs, and there was a restaurant right there. Very, very, very good restaurant. So we had the food and we had the Airbnb in there in the mornings. We just went and walked around Venice. So my mom and I, we started walking with family, and we visited different places in Venice. She loved. There's always artists in there that are playing. Like for example, they take glass bottles, and they were playing music with us. She loved it. We walked to the bridge in Academia. So the bridge in Academia in Venice is very important because you can get to see a view, and it's a Kodak moment if you call it that way. You get to see Santa Maria la Salute, which is the big church in Venice. And she was standing there, and I got a picture of her. And I wish I can show it to you. Well, maybe I'll hook up BDE Travels with and maybe I can upload these videos maybe today or another day. She was always having a blast. She was smiling through Venice. We also walked a lot, and we visited the very expensive hotels because in Venice you have the choice to spend a lot of money in hotels, or you can spend a little money, be on the cheaper side, but you get to enjoy more of Venice. So we walked, and then we crossed the bridge of the Academia. We walked on the other side of San Marco to where Santa Maria la Salute, which is the big church that you look for. If you're standing on Piazza San Marco and you look across the channel, there's a big church, and it's called Santa Maria la Salute. So we went over there in the afternoon. So we sat on the stairs there, and we were just looking at the canal and looking at the gondolas and people. But then the next day we had a lot of fun. I mean, it was amazing. I had a great time. So for all you in BDE Travels, I haven't been uploading a lot of videos in BDE Travels because we have been working a lot, and also we've been watching a couple of videos. I think now Efren is in Spain doing the Camino de Santiago on a bike. I try to get in touch with him, but he's always busy. So the only YouTuber that I got to get in touch with, the ones that are doing the Camino de Santiago, is the lady from I'll Get There. But in the meantime, I've been traveling. So once again, we were in Venice, and we decided one day that I didn't want to go to Murano with an M because they said that after the pandemic, everything was closed. They had to close the kilns and everything, and those are you're not supposed to shut them down because if you shoot them down, then it's very hard to get them going again. So they have taken a really big toll because of the pandemic. But we decided to go to Burano with a B. I'm sorry. So we rented a taxi, a water taxi. Now, you have to get this. My mom, she hates anything that has to do with water and boats. She despises that. Nevertheless, I mean, if you can see her face, we were on the taxi, and the taxi, while they are in Venice, they do drive very slow, so to speak. But once they get out of the Venice area, it's all hell breaks loose. It's whoever makes it there first. So this guy he put a pedal to the metal all the way to Burano, and you should see her face. She opened her eyes really big. She was very surprised at what was going, and it was a wonderful experience. So there, I have a photograph of her and I sitting on the taxi to Burano. And then once we get to Burano, Burano is a beautiful city. Let me tell you, if you go to Venice one of these days, make sure you spend some time to go to Burano. And Burano is where they do the textiles, and they do the hand carving things in there. They have mentals and they have shirts that they make. It's a beautiful city. So we went over there. It's very colorful also because the houses are painted in different colors. And legend says that when the fishermen left the house early in the morning, in order for them to identify their house, it had to be painted in a certain way. So that's where they knew where they were going to park their boats in that area. So we went there and my mom started taking pictures all around. There was a bridge that it's in the middle of Burano, and it's a beautiful bridge. I mean, it's wonderful, but people are always walking from one side to the other. I had to wait almost an hour and a half for the bridge to be empty so I can take a picture of my mom in the middle of the bridge. So we did that. We got that picture. She has it, and then also in Burano, there's a leaning tower like in Pizza, but this is a campanile. So the campanile. So I took a picture also with my mom in a campanile there. Then we took her. We went back to the main land with Venice. We went to Saint Mark's Basilica, which is one of the most beautiful basilicas in Italy. This basilica, it's covered in gold, and it's supposed to be where the rest of the burial of Saint Mark. It's in there. Also, there are four horses there that Napoleon took from Turkey, and then the originals are inside the cathedral. The replicas are on the outside, but this cathedral is covered completely in gold. It's gold plated from one place to the other. Beautiful architecture, Romanesque and Gothic. And then we went outside. We actually, I didn't do this the last time I was Venice, in Venice, this time I did. I took my mom and we went up the Campanile. In the Campanile, I think we paid €4 to go up there. So they do like 10 people at a time. So we went up and we took some pictures up there at the Campanile, and it's beautiful views. You can see from the Campanile, you can see St. Mark's Square from the top. You can see the other side of Venice, which is the island of Lido, where usually most of the Venetians live. They don't live in the town of Venice per se. They live across the channel, and you can get to see the old prison. You get to see Santa Maria Salute, St. Mark's Square. I recommend that you do that. And then we took, I don't know if you can see, let me see if I can move this. You see this, the painting over here? It's from Venice, but right there in that spot in real life, I went and I took a picture with my mom and my wife just to remind her that, hey, listen, I've been there. And literally, I have been there. So we took a picture there. And once again, I'm gonna try to see if I can hook up StreamYard, because in StreamYard, I can show you the pictures as I talk. I might do this live now, but I might do another live with StreamYard so I can show you the pictures and talk about it, because you can get to see and appreciate a little bit more what we did in Venice. And then that same day, we went, my mom and I and the girls, my wife, we went to Hotel Cavalletto, which is in the middle of Venice. You mean you go outside of St. Mark's Square, and right there they have the channel, and you can rent the gondolas. And we paid, I think it was €75 for about a half an hour. Six person, you can fit in there. Five people you can fit in there. So we did that. My mom loved it. The girls loved it. We didn't rent the accordion with a person singing, but I was just singing myself in there. Um, so we went and we came around, and we after we did the gondola, we went to St. Mark's Square, and at that time it was dusk, so the sun was setting, and there was one thing that I always wanted to do, and I'm glad that I got to do it with my mom. You know that in St. Mark's Square they have these restaurants where they play music. They have like an orchestra, and when this one plays, the other ones are silent, and then this one goes silent, and then the other one plays, and they just interchange the time in between each other. So I sat down in one of those cafes, which is very expensive, I might add. I mean, a single cafe, a coffee there will cost you €17, easy, easy, and that's the cheapest one, because they're charging you not only for the service, but they charge you for the music, and they charge you for a whole bunch of stuff. By the way, if you want to make any comments on the chat, You can make the comments on the chat. I am live with BDE Travels tonight, and usually I don't do this many often. So if you can see us live, we're here. So we sat in St. Mark Square, and we had, I mean, the best gelato I've ever had in my life. We sat down. It's called the Florian Venetia. The Florian is one of those restaurants with music, and I had what's it called in Italian? The fragola, and with whipped cream. I mean, it was phenomenal. It was $35 for ice cream, but it was well worth it. I mean, the service is phenomenal and the views are great. That's something that you can do. I spend 140, no, 155 euros, which is about $160 on, let's see, it was two coffees and four ice creams. We spent $160 pretty much, including tips and all that. And usually in Europe, you don't tip that much, but we did. But those were the best $160 that I'd spent in my life. I mean, I have a picture of the gelato that I was eating there. It was phenomenal, phenomenal. My wife was sitting there. My girls were sitting in there. We had a great time. My mom, she had a salad with tomatoes and some cheese. And then from there, from Venice, I rented a car. Now, let me tell you this. Do not, I repeat once again, do not rent a car with Sixt car rental in Venice. I am still being charged for a supposed ticket that I told them I'll pay it flatly if there was a ticket, but send me the infraction that the Italians made. So they're not sending me that. So American Express has been kind enough to say, no, we're not going to pay for that until they show you the infraction. But don't rent a car with six-star rental in Venice. But anyway, I rented a car there and we drove from Venice about an hour and a half to a small town in Lake Garda, which is called Pesqueira. Pesqueira, it's a wonderful small town. It's right next to the Lake Garda. It's very touristy. They have a nice small town. And we went to a restaurant right there in the corner where they have a great pizza. My mom, she's a diabetic. Nevertheless, I don't know what happens when she goes to Europe. Her sugar levels go down. That tells you a lot about the food that we eat here in the Americas. So she ate a whole pizza and her blood sugar was still under control the next day, even though she ate a whole pizza. And that tells you a lot about the food there. So she had a great time because she hasn't had a pizza in like ages, but that day she had. And then the next day, that's something that I wish I took a little bit more pictures and I wanted to share with you guys in BDE Travels. We went to a town in Montova. So we rented a bike. We rented a bike from Pesqueira, and then we rode all the way down to Montova, and in between Pesquera and Montova, there's a very small hamlet with a restaurant. And Amaris and I, we spent some time there. It was a great day. Uh, there were bells singing and all that. So we went to Montova, and then you rent a taxi, and they bring you with the bike to Pesquera. So we spent the time at Pesquera. It was a really nice city there. And then the next day, we took the car and we drove from Pesquera in Lake Garda all the way down to Florence. When we went to Florence, that was one of my mom's dreams. She always wanted to go to Florence. She wanted to see some of the statues and the art and all that. Nevertheless, I was kind of trying to cover her eyes in Florence. And the reason why I was trying to cover my mom's eyes is because everywhere you see are statues of men in nude. So I was like, Mom, don't look here. Mom, don't look there. It was kind of embarrassing, but she goes, No, 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 take a picture of me right here. So she's standing in one of the fountains, the fountain of Neptune, in front of where the David is located at. And then we walked. It was raining that day. We walked to the cathedral, and the cathedral in Florence is made up of different kinds of marble stones. They have green marble, pink marble, white marble, and it's a beautiful cathedral. We didn't get a chance to go inside, but she stood outside looking at that. And then this was funny. This was really, really, really funny. I wanted to do a culinary visit in Florence. So a few years ago, I went with a tour, Rick Steve Stewart's to Florence, and we did a cooking class. And it was interesting because I said, all right, I want to do that again with my family, with my mom, the girls, and her. So we did a cooking class. And believe it or not, the main chef was hitting on my mom every single time. He was like hitting on my mom, hitting on my mom. There was a point in time that I had to say, "Hey, dude, all right, cut it out." But he was hitting on my. It was kind of awkward. Uh, so we had a really good time with that. We were just laughing after that because of the fact that he was just hitting on my mom while we were doing the cooking class. She was just he was just flirting with my mom, and my mom was like, "What's going on? What's wrong with this guy?" That was something very funny. We really enjoyed that time. And then after we did the culinary school, the next day we stayed at one of the castles in Florence. In fact, it's right in the corner of the main street that leads you to the cathedral. So we left Florence that day and we drove down to La Toscana, the Tuscany, and we spent some time in Lajatico. Lajatico is a town where Andrea Bocelli's family is from. In fact, they have a restaurant there called Andrea Bocelli, and we went by the house that Andrea Bocelli owns in Lajatico. But from Lajatico, you can, if you have a car, well, in Tuscany, you got to have a car. We drove from Lajatico to Volterra and Pienza, which are two cities in there. So in Pienza, we took a couple of pictures. Pienza, it's a city up at, it's a hill town in Tuscany. Beautiful views from out there. And it's interesting that if you watch the movie Gladiator, the fields of Gladiator are just on the outskirts of Pienza. So my wife and I, my mom and my girls, we took a picture in there. In the evening, we went to the Officine Bocelli, which is the restaurant of Andrea Bocelli and Andrea Bocelli's family in Lajatico. And I had this very peculiar fruit. It's a yellowish fruit. I've never had it before. It's kind of exotic, but it tasted really good. So we ate that in that restaurant. And then the next morning, we went to Volterra. Volterra is another hill town that is specializes on alabaster, and we walked around the city. Once again, beautiful views. My mom really enjoyed it because we left early in the morning, so we got to see the sunrise and the sun in the middle of the day. And from there, after we did Volterra and we watched that, we walked by a restaurant which was a very nice restaurant, and it was a vegetarian restaurant, which is important because my mom and my wife they have intolerance to gluten, so we went to eat there and we had a great time. So we told the guy, listen, we're going to make a reservations because we're going to go to San Gimignano. And then in the evening, we're going to come back and eat here. And sure enough, we left Volterra. We went to San Gimignano. And in San Gimignano, my mom got to see the towers and the vineyards and all that. So as we were driving towards San Gimignano, there's a beautiful view of the town. We took a picture there with my mom and I, and we went in the evening and ate at the restaurant in Volterra. Great food, and it was interesting because the restaurant they had this plexiglass floor, and they had a well underneath that. And I was talking to the owner. He goes, "Yeah, every year we go down and clean everything down there because if you start excavating, you will find remains from the Romans in the early centuries. So they have that in there, and they also have a hostel in that restaurant. So it was a very very good place to go. So we left Tuscany, and after we left Tuscany, we drove. I always wanted to go to Switzerland, so we went and we drove to from Tuscany to Switzerland. It took like 6 hours, and I didn't know this. I didn't know this that once you get into Switzerland, uh, you have to ride the train in order to get to different towns, but you ride on a train in your car. So they have these big wagons that you drive into the train. So all the cars, they make like an Indian line on this long train. You pay, I think it's like 45 euros, like 50 bucks, and they take you from the end of the road in Switzerland to the towns where you want to go. And we wanted to go to Interlaken. It's in between Laken, it's rivers. So it's a town in between the rivers in Switzerland. And it was very interesting because we saw this picture on supposedly how are you supposed to use the toilets. And it was funny. We took a picture of it, and I wish I could share it with you so you can see that. Uh, and then the next day, we rented an Airbnb in Switzerland. The next day, we went to Jungfrau, and Jungfrau is what they call the top of Europe. And the top of Europe, you ride a train from Interlaken, and you go up to another town, and then from that town, you catch the train that is the highest train in the world. In fact, you're about 10,000 feet above ground. And you start feeling a little bit dizzy because there's a little bit of a lack of oxygen. And when you go in there, they have this place. In fact, it was one of the James Bond movies was filmed up there in Jungfrau. So we took the train, and that day was raining. It was raining. It was foggy, but we got to eat the chocolate up at Jungfrau. We did the restaurant. We did the walking tour in the Ice Palace. It's funny because the Ice Palace has a lot of acoustic, so I was singing with my girl, and it sounded very, very, very good. But there was one of the guards that apparently he was very upset because we were singing. He came around and he gave me this very nasty look, and then he walked by and talked to my mom. So you're not supposed to do that in there. But we just didn't pay attention to that. But the tour of Europe, it cost 200 euros per person to catch a train at Interlaken and go all the way to the top of Europe. It's very expensive, but I wanted to do that with my family. So, there was six of us. I mean, five of us. We went over there, spent 1,000 euros on that, but it was well worth it. If you have a chance to go to Interlaken, go to the top of Europe. Once again, be ready to spend 200 euros for the train ride all the way up there. Then we came back down and we went to the train station and that different things. And then the next day we drove to a town. I can't remember the name, but they have this beautiful cascades. Beautiful, beautiful. What's the name of that town? It's next to Interlaken. Uh I wish I could show you the pictures. Very, very nice town. They have like seven cascades in there. And then from there, from Switzerland, we drove down again to Italy. And I decided that I wanted to show my mom Lake Como because we already went to Lake Garda. So we went to Lake Como. And from Lake Como, we stayed in Menaggio. And it's interesting because if you travel to Lake Como, on every single town that you are at, you can catch the boat. You can get a boat ride from one town to the other, and you can do town hopping during the day. You can purchase a day pass, or you can purchase a single pass to go there. So we took my mom from Menaggio. We went to Varena, and from Varena, we walked the town of Varena. Very nice, very beautiful. We were there like 15 years ago for one of our anniversaries. So I took my mom so she can see the town, and she loved it. I mean, there were plenty of things to do. And then from Varena, we drove to Milan. And then from Milan, I was supposed to catch a flight to go back to Spain because there was a conference that I needed. I was one of the keynote speakers in Spain, and we couldn't find out an airplane. We traveled standby, and we got pushed. We got bumped on the flight, and I said, you know what? We're not going to make it to Spain unless I rent a car in Milan and drive to Spain. So sure enough, 8 o'clock at night, I rented a car in Milan, and I drove from Milan to Pamplona. 22 hours of driving it took us there, and we just left Milan. We were looking for places to eat, but it was a Sunday. There was everything pretty much is closed in Europe during the Sundays. So we went through France, and it was funny because as soon as I crossed the border into France and we go through the toll, a French cop goes, "You go over there." He stopped me. I got stopped by the cops in France. So I showed them my license and everything. He goes, he says something in French, and then I said, all right, whatever you. I'm over here thinking I'm going to get arrested. He comes back. He goes, "Well, have a nice trip, Mr. Hernandez," in English. So I'm like, "Oh, wait a minute. They speak English." But we kept on driving. So we spent those 22 hours on the road. We went through Barcelona, Zaragoza, and we made it to Pamplona. And then when we got to Pamplona, I got to spend a little bit more time with my mom on the town of Pamplona. So we took the rental, and we went and we drove to the middle of the town. We left the car in the parking spot, and she walked all around Pamplona. She really enjoyed. And then the next day, with the car rental, I went to Alto del Pendón, which is, if you do the Camino de Santiago, that's one of the things you go through. You go through the Alto del Perdón, and from there you got beautiful views of the town of Pamplona, and also you got beautiful views on the other side, almost to Puente la Reina. So that's pretty much on day, let's see, first day you go from San Jean Pierre de Port to Roncesvalles. Second day you do Roncesvalles to Subiri or La Rosoña. Third day you do La Subiri or La Rosoña to Pamplona. On the fourth day is when you cross El Alto del Perdón. So you go from Pamplona to Puente la Reina. Most likely people do they do that trip. So we rented a car and then we visited friends in the evening. We had a great, really great time. And then the next day we went to a monastery on top of the mountains in Pamplona with my mom and I. She likes the architecture. She likes the Gothic kind of church. We like the views from up there. And then one thing that my mom really enjoyed as we were driving in the area of Navarra, it's the architecture, the houses. They're built in a specific way, and they have flowers on the balconies, and they have this cathedral type of ceiling with cobblestones, and it's a very beautiful architecture. You see that on the second day from Roncesvalles to Zubiri, you'll see a lot of the typical houses in Navarra and the architecture that you can appreciate on that second day. We went to eat on different restaurants, and then we did the conference in Pamplona. We spent a little bit of time with friends because I when we were there in the middle of the pandemic, I lived in Pamplona for about 10 months. So we got to meet people from the church and friends and all that. And to the point that even today, I still visit some of them and we maintain a very good relationship with them. But during that time that we were in Pamplona, we took a couple of friends of us with us to Pamplona, and we visited some of the sightseeings around Pamplona. There's a big castle called the Castle of Olite, which is a town south of Pamplona, approximately like 35 minutes. But it's one of the most well preserved castles in Europe, and it's the Castle of Olite. It's a very nice castle, and once again, beautiful views for those who drink. There's great wine in there. And then that evening, we had a great time because we drove from Pamplona to Donostia, which is the town of San Sebastian. If you're doing the Camino del Norte, not the Camino Frances will go through Pamplona. But if you do the Camino del Norte, when you leave Bayonne and then you go to Irún, from Irún, the next day you spend the time in San Sebastian or Donostia. San Sebastian, it's a wonderful city, beautiful in architecture. In fact, it looks very similar to France when you are walking in Paris. And the reason being for it is that some other architects that worked on the constructions in France were actually the ones that built the town of Donostia or San Sebastian. So if you do the Camino del Norte, and on the second day or third day, you'll go through San Sebastian. In fact, if you're doing the Camino del Norte, I highly, highly recommend that you spend at least 2 nights in San Sebastian because there's a very rich culture, food culture there. They have a lot of wonderful restaurants. It's a little bit expensive, but they have a complete street with tapas and uh, cañas, and they have what's it called? The typical drink there. It's called. I know they serve it from the top. What's the name of it? What's the name of it? If you can write it down in the comments, if you know what I'm talking about. It's not chicoli. It's called sidra. In Spanish, it's sidra, but it has a name in English, so you guys can know what it is. But that's in Santiago, in San Sebastian. Then we spent the evening there. We saw the architecture. We walked all around the town. We were there with Paola, Leonardo, which are friends from Argentina. Her brother, which is Ariel, who lives in Spain. Karina. We also spent time with Jose Antonio from Mexico and his wife, Roxy, that they travel and they meet us in there. And then the very next day after we did that, I left with my mom to pretty much go around the outskirts of Spain because she wanted to see Spain. We went to the town of Segovia. We went through the town of Salamanca. We just passed by. We didn't stop. But then we went to Segovia. And in Segovia, my mom and I, we took some beautiful pictures in there. We went to El Alcázar in Segovia, which is the castle that apparently the Disney World castle was inspired from. And then we spent some time in the aqueduct. We I rented the hotel that is right next to the aqueduct. So if you open the window from the hotel, you can see the aqueduct right there. We ate in one of the restaurants. I don't recommend the restaurants that are next to the aqueduct. They're very expensive and they're not that good. I recommend you go into town and you can find better restaurants with better food in there. And of course, they have a McDonald's in there. They have a Burger King in there. But if you go to Europe, what's the sense of going to McDonald's and go to Burger King or things like that? I don't recommend doing that. But we had a great time. It was one of the best trips I've had. And once again, I didn't want to record it because of the fact that I wanted to keep it just for the memory of the family. I could have set one of the trips with my mom and download it here at BDE Travels so you guys can see everything that we saw. But I wanted to keep it a little bit more private on our side. But now, let me tell you about the future plans of BDE Travels. I'm coming up to my 25th wedding anniversary with my wife. And the good thing about that is that we are planning to see. I'm trying to save a little bit of money and I'm working very hard so I can go. I'm trying to see if we can do part of El Camino Portugal, the the sea route, not the inline route. So most likely, I don't know if we're gonna go to Porto, and then from Porto we're gonna walk about 10 days to Santiago de Compostela just to do that Portuguese route. And if I don't do that, I might do the Camino del Norte, which I'm really looking forward to do the Camino del Norte because everyone said that the best views you get to see them in the Camino del Norte. But since I haven't been to Portugal yet, and my brother just recently went to Portugal. He said he had a great experience. Most likely, I'll choose to go to either Lisbon or Porto. Most likely Porto, and I'm gonna walk north towards Santiago de Compostela to do part of the Camino Portugues. We still have pending. We went to Italy, and when we went to Italy in the area of the Tuscany, I saw that in San Gimignano and Lucca, the Via Francigena goes through. So my wife and I were still counting that we might do the Via Francigena in the future. So hopefully we'll see how that goes. And I'm hoping that it's sooner than later because we're not getting any younger, and we really want to do that walk and enjoy it. And that one, if we do the Camino a Portuguese, we are going to record that one for you guys. So we're going to post it here on BDE Travels. And once again, I haven't uploaded a lot of videos. I'm doing this one live right now, but in the near future, most likely we'll do the Camino Portuguese, and we're going to upload some of those days recording, for you guys and all that. Because don't think that we neglected this channel. I haven't. I want to keep on posting more information. Call McCall. He was our very first subscriber, and he still subscribed to us. So call him if you get to see this video. My regards to you up there in England. And call McCall. He was on the very first program that we did in the Camino de Santiago. He's towards the end when we went to the restaurant called Uhu Mecaclica with I believe her name is Christina or Maria, one of the two. If you're in San Jean Pied de Port and you're starting the Camino de Santiago, go to Uhu Mecaclica, which is on the main road on the right side. If we go down, it's on the right side after where they sell the macaroons. Very, very good restaurant, and she's a very, very nice lady. And I highly recommend that restaurant. So if you're spending the night in San Jean Pied de Port, that is the place you want to stay. We went to Costa Rica, San Jose, Costa Rica, a few weeks ago. We had a great time. I didn't record a lot of video for that one because we didn't have a lot of time to spend in Costa Rica. I went with a camera with the idea that I was going to record a video for BDE Travels, but I didn't get a lot of footage that was worth it to post it here online. So I'm sorry for that. But eventually we'll do more trips into Costa Rica. We have friends there now that we might need to do some of the videos and get together so you can get to see the beautiful side of Costa Rica. We did go in Costa Rica to a restaurant up at the top of the mountain or the volcano, which is called Ram Luna. Very, very good food, and the views were just phenomenal up there. Um, and let me see. I think you know what I'm gonna do in the next few days. I'm gonna upload StreamYard for this channel so that you guys can see some of the at least some of the pictures that we took on these trips, and I might go back and show you our friends from Costa Rica and all that. So just make sure you share, comment, like, subscribe to our channel. I'm gonna be posting once again once we do the trip in Portugal. I'm gonna be posting a little bit more videos of the Camino de Santiago. Also, in our channel, we have videos from Disney World with the girls. We have other things. We still haven't uploaded the videos from Puerto Rico. So everywhere we travel, once again, we're going to try to keep on uploading um, to this. And I invite you, if you haven't seen this series of the Camino de Santiago, we got about 40 videos recording every single day of what we did in the Camino de Santiago, from the time we landed in Madrid, how we got to San Jean Pied de Port, to all the trips that we did walking from San Jean Pied de Port all the way to Santiago de Compostela. We did take some pictures in Finisterre, but we didn't record the videos from Finisterre in there. But once again, I thank you for your time. Once again, those who are you who still subscribe to BDE Travels, we're still here. We haven't uploaded that many videos because we have a channel called Dr. Enuel Hernandez, and on that channel I post every other day during the week. So just if you speak Spanish, I invite you to go to that channel, and if not, just stay here. We'll be uploading videos soon. And once again, I have not forgotten. I have not left BDE Travels. For everything that we do everywhere we travel, I'm going to try to keep recording videos so that you guys can enjoy the video. So once again, thank you for hanging out with us. I'm going to say goodbye for now, and hopefully in a few months you'll get to see the Camino de Santiago, the Portuguese route, and that one I'm going to try to do with my wife since we're celebrating our 25th anniversary, and we want to celebrate it there. And we might do Portugal, and from Portugal we're planning to go to the Dolomites in Italy, because I've never been to the Dolomites, but I don't know, we might do something like that. I really enjoy Europe. That's one of my favorite places to travel. And if you know how to travel, you can actually get to travel in Europe very cheap. We do hostels, we do pensiones, we do Airbnbs. Every now and then, like once a week, we do a very expensive hotel, but we try to keep it on the cheap side. The food you always want to eat outside of the touristy area. You always want to go where the locals are. That's where you get the best deals on food, and you get to travel all around Europe. You don't really need a car. Europe can be traveled very easy with trains, so you can budget for trains, or you can walk. There's plenty of hiking trails in Europe. In fact, you can walk all Europe from Rome all the way to Spain. You can walk that if you got the time, and that is actually on my bucket list. One of these days, I'm going to leave Rome and I'm going to walk all the way to Santiago de Compostela. So I'm going to visit Le Puy-le-Velay in France, and all the towns and beautiful towns along the route that you can get to see. We went to Andorra on another trip, which is that country between France and Spain. We spent a night there. We also got stopped by the cops. It's amazing how they stop you. They look at you and they know you're a tourist. And the cops, they like to stop you to see if you just bought anything that you're not supposed to buy. But we had a great time anyway. So my regards to all of you. Thank you for watching BDE Travels. I invite you once again, subscribe, watch the videos. We got a lot of beautiful tips for you and a lot of sightseeing. We got perfect drone shots that you can get to see in there. I invite you to see the series from the beginning, from video 1 all the way to video number 40. And once again, stay with us at BDE Travels. We are traveling the world. We're enjoying our time, and we're sharing it with all of you. So our best regards, and we see you on another trip with BDE Travels. Goodbye now.